Avi Meir is the former editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. I'm delighted that he joins us now from Jerusalem. And thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. As Israel reserves the right to go into Lebanon with troops on the ground, that is only one of a number of operational options. Meantime, information coming in that another key Hezbollah asset has been assassinated in Lebanon. Also news that Hezbollah has been involved in further strikes on Israel. What's your perspective on what has been achieved to date?
Well, Becky, it's important to realize that Hezbollah is not, in fact, Iran's last line of defense, rather its first line of offense against the state of Israel. For the past 11 and a half, nearly 12 months, Hezbollah has subjected northern Israel to a constant bombardment, forcing 1% of Israel's entire population to flee, essentially depopulating that area. And so there's a great deal of relief in Israel, but also around the region. The elimination of Hassan Nasrallah. Of course, we've seen celebrations in Syria where Hezbollah was actively involved in the Assad regime's campaign of oppression and elimination in that country. And so I think what you're seeing now is the possibility for a new beginning. I know Israeli officials are talking about some kind of a new arrangement on the northern border in accordance with UN Resolution 1701 that would push Hezbollah up past the Litani River where it's supposed to be and replace it with the Lebanese army, asserting that country's sovereignty in that region. One can only hope that that's what will happen at this point.
And Iran's malign influence around this wider region, and very specifically through its backing for Hezbollah, has had a huge impact on this wider region. And there will be many in positions of leadership around the Middle East and the Gulf who will not mourn the loss of the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and his sort of board, as it were, those commanders in significant positions below him, many of whom are dead now. But we also just heard from the Egyptian foreign minister concerned about the escalation around the region. Now, the Prime Minister here, Benjamin Netanyahu, said this is escalation to de-escalate, using the term that many around this region have been using for months now. They want to see de-escalation, as does, of course, the United States. And whilst Joe Biden has put out a statement of support for Israel's operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon, we do also know there is a significant ambition for a ceasefire at this point. What's your perspective on that?
Well, Becky, there are those who suggest that these events of the past few days, the elimination of the entire leadership, essentially, of Hezbollah may actually ease the way towards a ceasefire. It enables Israel to decompress in the north, perhaps enabling it to refocus on the south and focusing on exactly what it is that Israel wants as an endgame. I would look past the rhetoric being heard from some Arab leaders at this time. I think, as you said earlier, there's widespread relief across the region at the elimination of Hezbollah, which of course was a key asset, remains to some extent a key asset of Iran, but has been significantly weakened. I think that does open the door towards more moderate influences in this region, hopefully towards some kind of de-escalation and a ceasefire agreement between Israel, Hamas, and other players in the region.
Yeah, and we hear a lot of talk in this region about navigating a new Middle East, looking at an architecture that will of economic integration and of de-escalation that will take this region forwards, not backwards. The concerns, of course, being voiced by many, including the Egyptian foreign minister, as we just heard then, are of what happens sort of in the short term as opposed to what may or could happen longer term. Avi, it's really good to have you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us with your insight